Hello, we are the Ministry of the Real Truth. This video is in response to a comment we received under our video, The United Church of God. We are in no way angry or resentful over it. In fact, we appreciate it and we are very thankful, very grateful for it. Here's a thumbs up towards it to show we really appreciate it. We truly appreciate it, as it has reopened our eyes, or opened our eyes even further, even more, and we can use it to create a video. Thanks for that. This video in particular to validate ourselves. Let us now look at that comment and pull it apart. Explain ourselves, to validate ourselves, right? Okay, so when we created this video, we put a description underneath it. Insights into the United Church of God. It's received 562 views. Cheer. Thanks for that, all you out there. We at the Ministry of the Real Truth delve into the many church denominations worldwide. We look at them, listen to what they have to say, read what they have to say, etc. Their claimed facts, the established facts, their proofs, their evidence, etc., etc. Okay. We explore their founders and their claims, right? Be it the evangelists, their preachers, teachers, whatever, from that denomination. Their life history, their background, like any good journalist would do. They would look for the dirt, if there is any dirt. We're not saying we're journalists, but we use that method. Okay. We explore their founders and their claims, their life history and claims, in order to reveal the real truth that all in the world are being deceived. And there's a link to probably a scriptural verse, biblical verse, like Revelations 12:9. That serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. So the whole world is deceived. How are they deceived? By a false church, false ministries, false doctrines, bad translations, transliterations, etc., etc. If you were the devil and wanted to deceive the entire world, how would you approach such a challenge? And there's a link to that, Wikipedia, right? And some information on United Church of God. It may upset some. It's too bad. It doesn't seem to do that much. Okay. The United Church of God and International Association, UCGIA, or simply UCG, is a non-denominational religious group based in the United States. UCG itself, the United Church of God and International Association, with the last three words italicized, in order to differentiate UCG from local congregations and denominations which bear similar names. UCG holds doctrines and beliefs similar to those taught by Herbert W. Armstrong and the former Worldwide Church of God. You can go to our Patreon page if you want to become a patron, want to donate us. Okay, help us secure a new ministry residence, as ours is now too small. We're doing it from home, right? And here's our PayPal account, donation account. It's completely up to you. If you want to do monthly or whatever, okay, there's no pressure there. Okay. And not too sure if there's a song on this. I think it's just the audio. Yeah, in the background. Right. All legal. Okay, so we've put here 2 months ago. We improved it so it makes sense. Welcome. United Church of God New Zealand. And there's a link to it. Official website of United Church of God New Zealand, a Sabbath-keeping Christian church that aims to follow the original teachings of Jesus Christ and the first century apostles. Okay, so that's what we looked at, because we have the supposed original, ancient, hidden and preserved manuscripts, okay, from the Church of the East. These were given supposedly to them, the original Apostolic Church of God. Right, founded by Thomas, maybe Thaddeus, and Addai and Bartholomew and Peter had something to do with it, right? In the 1st century AD. They hid and preserved these manuscripts from the Roman Catholic Church and Islam, who just really wanted the land, and they said, "What, you can't have any idols or any things you venerate." So they got rid of them and had icons. Okay. So these hidden and preserved manuscripts, hidden and preserved for over 2,000 years, have been attested, is that the right word, by the then Patriarch in 1957, Mar Isai Shamun, right, who was later assassinated, as to be as intact as the day they were given to them, that church, the Apostolic, Assyrian Apostolic Church, etc., in the 1st century AD. They've never been messed with. They never had a need to do that. Because why? Because it's in their language that they spoke. So they just look at it, they read it to the people in their church or their mass, right, who are native born speakers of that particular language. So they've never had to change it or translate it, or whatever, mess with it, translate it into other foreign languages. But along comes a guy who's translating supposedly from the original Eastern Syriac Peshitta, okay, as Andrew Gabriel Roth has done on the AramaicsScriptures.com, into English, right, with their mission statement that they wanted to translate all into the closest or the nearest English equivalent as they possibly could, because there's a lot of words in the Aramaic, ancient Aramaic. This is the original ancient, very old Aramaic, right? Not the modern Syriac, but this guy, Andrew Gabriel Roth, translated from the Eastern Syriac Peshitta. He said, I bypassed the Latin Vulgate, the Septuagint, etc., etc., and then the Western Peshitta to bring the nearest equivalent. He translated it into English and keeping it as close to those original texts as he possibly could, because there are some words in that ancient or the original ancient, very old Aramaic, in the case of this guy Victor N. Alexander, a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator from Bet Narain or Mesopotamia, Syria, that translated the same way as Andrew Gabriel Roth had done, at the AramaicsScriptures.com. Okay, that's his website. Right. He was doing the Syriac, the Eastern Syriac Eastern Peshitta, into English. He probably, I think he said he finished the New Testament, and it was finishing the New Testament, translating it into English from the Syriac for his friends and Christians, right? Later Christians. So they would have the truth of what the scriptures originally said. Along comes a high priest from that Apostolic Orthodox Assyrian Christian Church of the East, right? And says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm translating using the Syriac. He goes, oh, okay. So this priest goes away, comes back, now what are you doing? Oh, I just finished the New Testament. And this priest says, what, you translated from the Syriac? And he goes, yeah. Except your teacher. He says, why did you do that for? When it all originally was in the Ktav Avri, or the Assyrian Aramaic. Okay? So he goes, oh my goodness, I have to start my work all over again. Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to complete it, because he just finished the Aramaic, Galilean Aramaic NT, right? And he's quite old and not in greatest of health. So he said, I may not be able to finish it all, but I might pass or whatever, because it's about 60 or 70, right? But he's not worried, because someone else might pick up his for where he left off and carry it on, right? So here's this website up online called va.com, but there's some strange blog site that said that his name is Victor Isaac Alexander. Right? We were like, what the hell? Went on his website, and on the cover of this book, or inside this book, it says, this translation, it says Victor Nimrod Alexander, because they're Syrian or whatever, they're descendants of this guy Nimrod and these supposed Jews that come out of Egypt, right? The Exodus, right? And all this sort of stuff. So, and this guy's saying, oh, he needs $100 to put his website back up because it was down, right? And we're like, ooh, a bit dodgy there. This guy Bennett or whatever is saying that his middle name is Isaac, which is a complete lie, right? So we've been trying to get hold of this Victor N. Alexander to ask him all these questions, because there's some weird stuff that's come up online that his grandfather was the first director of the CIA, and then he went to Hollywood, did those silent movies, got really famous, popular with that, right? Did really, really well. And then the next person that stepped up as the head of the CIA, or maybe the one after that, were doing dodgy stuff. Okay, and then Dr. What's his name? John Merrick, the Elephant Man, his grandson was a doctor who was doing some dodgy things, and then the Queen of England was doing dodgy things in conjunction with the CIA, in conjunction with what went down in World War II. Okay, so we're trying to clear all that up, but he hasn't got back to us, right, through his email. So we're requesting Mr. Vic out there, lovely older man, the translator, our moderator, our mentor, even though he won't officially say, yeah, I'm your mentor. Okay, we just like to call him that because we spend a lot of time corresponding with him via email, right? Had a bit of a chuckle with him, and he once said in an email comment, but I messed up my Gmail account, whatever. It might still be there, the email, right, that we sent back and forth. And I was asking him questions about all these different other Aramaic things online, right? And he says, well, you find some really weird things in regards to the ancient Aramaic, and we had a chuckle, right? That's how nice a person he was. So over time we began to build trust with that guy, put our trust in that guy, because we tried to catch him out, as much as we could, but we never could. We had a problem with the English version, where actually in the English, we will Americanized modern Bible versions, translated in English, say that Christ was God incarnate in the flesh, right, came to earth, and etc., to try to bring Israel and then non-Jews back to God, right, because sin divided them, separated them. There's a great gulf in between all of that sort of stuff, right? So we thought, well, how can he be God if God's up there on a throne and he's on the earth praying to him, right, in the Garden of Gethsemane? That doesn't make sense. Well, how can he be praying to God if he's on the cross and his Father's sitting up on a throne up in heaven? Or John in Revelation sees God sitting on a chair, right? He recognises it's God. He can't really see his face, but he sees his figure with the scroll in his right hand. And he's like weeping and wailing, but the angel says, oh, don't worry about that, stop your crying, wipe your tears, whatever, because there's another one that can do it. He's the only one in heaven and on earth that can open the scroll, right? And he says, oh, I saw another. Oh, look, I saw another, and behold, he looked like the Son of God, the Son of Man, because he knew who Jesus looked like, right? Because he spent a lot of time with him as a young fellow, 20, whatever, right? Because he was really young, right, at that time, when Christ ended up on the cross. So he ended up living on Patmos Island, the next island, or whatever, until he was about 100. Then he passed, so he lived a hell of a long life, right? Okay? He said, look, I saw one walking amongst the menorah, the candles, the 7 lamps, the candles, lamps, whatever, right? And he looked like the Son of Man, like a lamb that had been slain. So he knew that was the Christ, right? And he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of he who sat on the throne. That was his Father, whatever, right? So he saw 2 separate beings. Okay? So he thought, well, it must be 2 different beings, right? You can't be God if he sits at the right hand of God and all that sort of stuff. But this Victor N. Alexander, he's got a funny way of looking at Yeshua Mashiach, or Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, Jesus Christ, for he is God, he is the Allah, he is God. So he scratching our head and went through his translation here, and yep, sure enough, it says he is God. Okay, oh Allah, you are Allah, right? Which means he is God. There's different scriptures that verify that he indeed is God. Like he said to Peter, who do you say that I am, Peter? And Peter says, come on, man. Come on, Lord. You're the Son of God. You're the Messiah or the Mashiach, right? And he told Peter, yeah, if you've seen me, you've seen God. Because we are one and the same. We are one. That's what it means in the Eastern mindset, right? But you've got your Western terminology and your Western translations, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to translate an Eastern text, right? Written down by an Eastern scribe or monk with an Eastern mindset, and you're trying to translate it by using the Western mindset, right? Which is completely different. Okay, they might say in the East, oh yeah, that's a fable. They might admit to it. That's a myth. but they believe it. Okay, because every myth has a little bit of truth in it, doesn't it? So that's what they'd say. Yeah, okay, it's mythical, whatever, but we believe it, right? Whereas the Western mindset, the Western educated person, got that mindset, right? They'd say, well, it's a fable, so it's not true, whatever, right? Because there's two different mindsets. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to gel the Eastern mindset, right? All that's written by Eastern scribes and monks, right, centuries ago, with your later Western mindset, right? Your Western terminology, your Western theology, whatever, right? You're trying to mix the two together. It's like diesel and water. They don't mix. Okay? They won't gel. Okay, to use an example. Okay, so this Victor N. Alexander, he found a way, because what he did was he actually watched this video, put up in your YouTube search the Aramaic scriptures. You come up the Adam and Eve, and it's actually he didn't put the title properly, right? It's wrongly spelt, right? Whatever, right? But that doesn't really matter. It's trivial. But it's a video where a little old man wearing a cap, right? Forward, of course. He's not a gangster. But white hair, probably about 60 or 70 looking. He's like this, and he's going Avun ba mishmaya, whatever, in this funny language, right? Okay, that's just an example. He's not actually saying the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, but he's going on about the Brita. He holds it up like this, and the Brita is the Aramaic for the origins, the beginnings, right? Your Genesis in English, and he's talking about that, Adam and Eve being created and all that sort of stuff, right? And again, he's speaking a funny language. Yeah? He's found a way to revive that long D language, the sacred scribal old tongue or language used by the prophets, and the monks, scribes and monks, in around about 800 BC, they took all those writings, they copied them obviously, and then they compiled them into one book, a book of books, the Old Testament, right, in Ur-Hai, Edessa, okay, which is now modern Turkey, okay, and then somebody has taken those manuscripts of Galilean Aramaic, hidden and preserved, etc., and they've translated it. Not translated it. They've copied it. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. They've copied it, obviously, and then it's hidden and preserved. It's hidden from the Roman Catholic Church, who would come and find it, but anything like that that says heretical, right? They're a bunch of heretics. They'll burn it, destroy that church, whatever, to kill those people. Probably it's like an Inquisition thing, right? Do all that stuff which they've done over the centuries, right? And you'd hear no more of it. They might keep a copy of it and put it in the Vatican, you know, and it'll never see the light of day. Okay, so that's why they hid it from the Roman Catholics, because there was a problem way back when there was a debate between a guy called Cyril and a guy called Nestorius over the substance of the Christ, right? That he was both human and divine. Cyril didn't agree with that. He said blah 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 whatever. Nestorius said blah blah blah. So they had like a bit of an argument there, and then he started calling Nestorius a heretic and all this sort of stuff, because Nestorius was going on about hypostasis, which is that Christ is both human, can be both human and divine. He was both human and divine. Okay, so this caused outrage. He labelled him a heretic. The Roman Catholic Church labelled him and his followers heretics, right? And then they erroneously called those people Nestorians, right? So the original Apostolic Assyrian Orthodox Church of the East, they later on says, well, we agree with what Nestorius said, that Christ can be both human and divine. That's the hypostasis theory, right? So when they said that, the Roman Catholic Church started pointing the finger at them and calling them heretics, and labelled them Nestorians, erroneously labelled them Nestorians, right? They said, well, we admire that guy because what he said we'd been saying centuries before. So they got labelled heretics, hypocrites, all this other crap, right? And they got persecuted throughout the centuries, for 18 centuries, not only by the Roman Catholic Church, right, but by Genghis Khan and the Mongols, the Kurds. Okay, when ISIS came into Syria to kick them all out of their houses and all that sort of stuff. Supposedly these Kurds narked on them or pimped on them and told them, oh, Syrians live there. They provided the information. Who else was there? Islam, right? Muhammad was a nice guy. Apparently he gave them leeway for a while there, but after he's gone, this new caliph comes in and he's real cruel, so and so. Right, so he persecuted them. So for 18 centuries they've been running, mountain tops and stuff like that with their manuscripts, never ever changing it. Maybe they had it up here, maybe they had it written down, right? And they were teaching their people that, right? They were martyred, killed, for, they were just treated like crap for 18 centuries. Okay, so yeah, that's the history on them. So when they hid and preserved their original manuscripts for 2,000 years, right? This Victor in Alexander somehow got hold of them. He went around the world, right? The British Museum, Paris Museum, whatever, and because he did a documentary at the Louvre or something like that of all those winged bull statues, those ancient Mesopotamian ones, because he did a history, right, of his country, Mesopotamia, right? He did a film and all that, documentary, and he went to take it to the libraries, to film places, because he's a graduate in the San Francisco Film Academy in USA, right? He's got so much experience, he knows all about how to make a film, documentary, whatever, right? He took it to them and they poo-pooed it. They says, oh, this is a lot of rubbish, it's not factual. And he says, hey, I'm a Mesopotamian, and I've done my own country's history, and etc., right? Because Christians, Western churches and that said, those winged bulls are demons and all this sort of crap, right? Whereas he said, no, they're not. They're like cherubim or something like that, guardians of temple or whatever, representations, whatever like that, right? Okay, they're not demons, but they got a lot of flack over there, right? So he keeps trying, and he's trying to translate the original ancient old sacred scribal old tongue or language. It's a dead language. It's like Latin, Norse, etc., like that. Nobody, old Germanic, old English, nobody speaks it anymore. They're dead. Right, so he finds a way, possibly through the root words of that original language, to revive it. And then, as he's showing on that video, he's brought a manuscript from one of his high priests of that original church, and he's translated it. It's in Bible format, right? He's translated that into English, using that way to revive it. Okay, and there's people out there saying, oh, he don't know how to speak it, I speak it better than him because I went to seminary, I got a pretty little certificate or degree, from the university or Bible college or whatever, right? So I know it better than him, he pronounces it wrong. But what they don't understand, because they've never studied his website when it was up deep enough, like fanatically like we have, right? They've never talked to the guy and questioned him to death, right? And got the answers from him. That he's revived old D language, possibly the Ninevite Aramaic that Jonah used to speak, right? Spoke to them. Because in those days he used to speak Aramaic Hebrew, right? But it was like interchangeable. Like apparently the Hebrew was spoken in temples for religious reasons and all that sort of stuff. It was all religious affiliated. But the Aramaic you spoke outside if you're like gossiping or talking about the latest news or the latest fashion or whatever, right? Okay? And they used to like interchange, and then apparently the Aramaic, being the older sister language, the Ktav Avri, okay, or the Assyrian Aramaic, or the Syrian Aramaic, became more popular, etc., etc. You've got to go look at the history of it, because it's disputable, right? One will say, oh, that's the older sister, the other will say, no, Hebrew's the one, the Ktav Avri, but they're both sister languages, right? Very, very old, right? Talking about the original ancient, none of these modern Syriac versions or anything like that. There's many dialects of that, and they're all modern. And that's what people are learning the Syriac. And saying, oh, that's the original text, all that sort of stuff. We know it better than this guy when they don't. You know better than a guy that speaks it fluently? I don't think so. Yeah, you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool people all the time, right? Yeah, so they're using the common Syriac. Even a professor that we came across asked a question about the Hebrew Israelite, right? Are they actually pronouncing the right name of God according to what they're saying, right? Yahu Wahu Wahu, or Yahi Wahi Wahi, or Yahi Woo Woo Woo, whatever, right? So we asked this professor, He's got 2 doctorates, PhDs in Aramaic and the Hebrew, possibly the Greek. Is this the name of God? And he thought we were playing games, and he got all angry a bit there. But then he relaxed, and he says, okay, to answer your question, because we say it's just a question, we just need an answer. So he says, what's that rubbish? What the hell's this yahoo, wahoo, wahoo, woo, woo, woo rubbish? It's not even a Hebrew. She says, don't waste your time with people like that. You're just playing games. Okay? So we verified that, because that's what we do. And we proved that that lot were lying through their teeth, right? And now there's a new one out saying, oh, it's Yah-O, it's Paleo-Hebrew, all this sort of stuff. And he's saying, I am Ban, the son of, and he's got Yah-O. So he's God, right? So he's subtly hinting that he's the son of God. Okay? Because the torrid rain fell on him, that's how God baptized him. He says the normal common baptism by John, and Jesus got baptized by John in the New Testament, etc., is wrong. Okay? It's not like that, blah blah blah. And he's the new guru for these Hebrew Israelites and all this sort of stuff, and they believe everything that he says, right? When we have proven that this guy's a load of rubbish, right? We're still yet to further prove that he's one of these that's saying that he's the Christ, that Christ forewarned of, right? So anyway, so this older man, Victor N. Alexander, he's translated the ancient, or the original ancient Lishana Artica Saprea, right? Can we say it was the sacred scribal old tongue or old language of the Old Testament prophets and the scribes and monks in around 800 BCE. And he's also translated the hidden and preserved Galilean Aramaic manuscripts into the nearest English equivalent that he possibly can, because some words do not have an English equivalent, like muta. So he had to hunt around and find one that befitted the meaning in English, right? So he's trying to find the nearest English equivalent and stick to the scriptures, the original scriptures, and what they're actually saying. So I keep close to it as I can, because there's idioms and stuff like that. This professor that we told you about, we went to ask him about the Hebrew Israelites actually saying the right name of God, Yahu, Wahu, Wahi, whatever, and he said no, it's a load of rubbish, right? Now we've lost track. Anyway, this professor, he's met the guy, and he says he's talked to him exclusively. He doesn't agree with everything he says. He's met Andrew Gabriel Roth, the translator of the Syriac Peshitta. He's okay. They actually had a get together and exchange ideas or whatever. Right? He says he don't really. He's all right, but he's this Messianic Jew, so he's got this different reserves, right? Anyway, so this guy Victor N. Alexander's translated the original Aramaic Galilean into English, right? And you'll find in there, if you get it, that it speaks of Christ as, or even on the Brita Genesis, when his website was up, it was actually downed, so we found a way to revive it, right? But we can't, there's certain things we feel we can't do because it's copyrighted to him, right? So we asked, trying to get hold of him and ask him, can we give you some money to put it back up, to help you, or can we put it back up there with your permission at certain sites that we know of, or even create a website and put portions of it up there so that people can read it again, right? We can't do much until we get his permission, okay? But he seems to be okay with us. He's actually signed up with us, subscribed with our channel twice, both of our channels, because we reviewed his formal website, right? But he's given us reasons, like with this other guy Bennett, what he was giving us reasons that as it was taken down. Donald Trump was his son-in-law, and he didn't like it, so he sanctioned it to be taken down. Even though there was a video of Obama and Michelle, right, actually saying, this guy's right on the button, because supposedly Obama's dad taught him the same things as this Victor N. Alexander was saying, and when he was living in the East. Okay? So they were saying, this guy's great, right? So we're trying to verify all these claims that, his great-great-grandfather worked in the CIA and then went to Hollywood, did the silent movies with Charlie Chaplin and Max Sennett and all that, right? Became popular. This Elephant Man's grandson and the Queen and CIA did all this. In World War II, not Hitler, all that sort of stuff, right? All this other stuff that this Bennett guy on his blog site is stating, right? To verify that either Bennett's telling a load of rubbish or it's true. Okay? So, we wandered way off. But yeah, basically, it's all here. What we just said. The info from the source via the link provided is erroneous, because if they did, they would know, because here it says official website of United Church of God New Zealand, a Sabbath-keeping Christian church that aims to follow the original teachings of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, and the first century apostles. That would be the first century disciples as well, probably, because Peter, Bartholomew, all that knew Paul, the apostle, right? They came across that, right? They were the same faith. And they were Mashiachai. These disciples were called Mashiachai, not Christians. The info, but these later followers took on that name that was given to them. It's like the Nestorians, right? This Assyrian church. They don't like to be called Nestorians. There's one comment in one of the patriarchs' interviews or books or something, and this guy says, "Oh, you're Nestorians, whatever." He says, "If you keep calling us Nestorians, we're going to go to war." But they accept that title because it's been labelled. They've been labelled that. It's been heaped on them for centuries. So yeah, they go with it. They're not too fazed by it. Okay. But they'll tell you, we aren't Nestorians. We're erroneously being called Nestorians. We are Assyrians, etc. Right? Okay. So the info from the sources. The source via the link provided is erroneous, in other words, incorrect. If they did, they would know of the original scriptures, of the original ancient or very old manuscripts, the Lishana Artika, Lishana Supreya, of the ancient, very old sacred scribe or old tongue prophets of the old, spoken by the prophets of the Old Testament, Moses, etc., etc. You may have spoken Ktav Avri, Ktav Avri. Right, that's the Aramaic and the Hebrew, the original, right, the very ancient, and maybe Ktav Hotep, from his grandfather while he was in Egypt. But we're still trying to find that one. There's no information that we found on it, right? And you've got some rabbis online that say, "Oh yeah, the modern Hebrew is Ktav Avri." It's not. Okay, it's not even Ktav Avri, because they're dead languages. What they've got is a modern Israeli Hebrew, right? You've got a modern Greek, or possibly a Latinized form of Greek, right? And this Aramaic is this derivative Syriac. Okay? And your Greek could also be a modern Greek, Latinized form of Greek. It's not the Koine Greek, or the classical, or the Attica, or the Attic Greek. See, we've done our research. Okay, so these scribes and monks compiled the Old Testament into one book around 800 BCE in Ur Edessa, Assyrian Aramaic or Aramaic, Ktav Avri, and that's in that language, long dead language, and of the Galilean Aramaic spoken by Jesus and spoken and written by his disciples and apostles. Okay, so this guy Victor Alexander's found a way through the root words to revive it. Here we go. Translated by a native-born Aramaic, so translated by a native-born Aramaic speaker, translator, filmmaker from Bet Naharain or Mesopotamia, Syria, or Assyria, right? Yeah, today it's called Syria. Who found a way to revive a long-dead language and translated the original manuscripts in the original sacred scribe or old tongue into the closest English equivalent, keeping as close to what the original manuscript was saying, without the usual translators' bias, need for bias, prejudice, twisting, or adding their own flavour to them, or his own flavour to them, as most translators do. As he also found when translating, that, like he says, the missionaries in the 1900s went to Urmia, North Iran, with their King James Version Bible, right? And they're preaching, they're proselyting, whatever, and they tried to translate that King James into Syriac, but botched it. so forth and so forth. Okay, we're going to read from the translator's notes, right, to verify this is his statements, and that we're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes, right? Okay, so we're going to try and find some glasses around here or something. Okay, we don't know where they are. We've lost them again. Anyway, okay, it should be on page 4 of the Aramaic New Testament. The American missionaries of the 19th century attempted to translate these scriptures, these Galilean Aramaic scriptures, into modern Aramaic, Syriac, right? The American missionaries of the 19th century attempted to translate the scriptures into modern Aramaic, Syriac, but botched it as they adapted it to the King James Version in use by them at the time. The Urmia, or North Iran, version of the Bible is essentially the American Bible translated into modern Aramaic or Syriac. By the way, the American missionaries have translated all the Bibles of all the countries of the world from the American Bible. That is why all the Bibles thus translated contain the same errors and translations and pseudo-Christian, that's half-truth, right? False, often false, erroneous, bad translations, etc. Doctrines that have caused so much misery in the world for 200 years. So that's where your problems lie, right? That's why you're fighting with each other. Oh, we've got the true scriptures preserved by God. We are the chosen. We are the elect. God spoke to us in a dream and said, we are the one. You know, all the rest are devils, and they point the finger at them. You know, it's all propagandic. It's all because they've got a motive, a hidden agenda, etc., etc., right? To be the number one on top of the ladder, right? Kick everybody else by defaming them. Kick everybody else off by poo-pooing on them. The earlier plagiarized versions of the Bible were the Greek original and the Latin Vulgate. These versions were translated by Martin Luther, William Tyndale, and other Protestant translators over the last 5 centuries from the Greek Septuagint and the Greek original. The Greek New Testament, translation from the Aramaic. These were then further translated by the American translators until we have the situation today with all these versions of the Bible and thousands of denominations, each with their own individual interpretation. So the disciples' New Testament, or the Aramaic New Testament, is then the only accurate and non-prejudicial translation of the original New Testament scriptures, okay, the ancient, the very old, the original, right? Scriptures by a native Aramaic speaking translator. He's from Bet Naharain, Mesopotamia, Syria, and that's what he's talking about, right? Okay, so these are your problems. There's where your problems lie with your American Bibles or your Americanized modern Bible versions, right? Go have a look at the Brian video, as we always stress. We'll probably put a link underneath so they can look at it, and he shows you a chart of where it all originated from. The original supposedly the original Hebrew text translated into Greek and then translated into Old Germanic, because he was a German, right? He spoke the German language, right? So he's a scribe and a monk of the Catholic Church. He translates it into Old Latin, and then it's translated into English, you know, for the people, because that was part of the Reformation, right? So Tyndale, who was a Protestant, that's what people don't get, right? They don't look at the word, they don't define the word. What is Protestant, right? Someone said to us in a comment, oh, do you know the difference between Protestant and Catholics? We said, yeah, because we come to realise they were reformists, right? They were crying out for change from that mother church, right? We want... Somebody's calling us, they can call back. Yeah, they want to reform, they want to change, because the people weren't allowed to learn the Latin, read it for themselves, etc. So they didn't know what was in the scriptures. Okay? So Martin Luther went away, he translated into English, from Latin into the English. Tyndale went to London, apparently, or England, and he did the same. Then they came back, and then Martin Luther, in being a reformist and a protester, right, puts it up on the church door so all the people can read it. He doesn't get excommunicated. He's still a good boy, good Roman Catholic, right? Where his friends did that sort of thing. They got burned at the stake or something like that, right? Okay, so he was never excommunicated. He was still a Roman Catholic till his dying day. Okay, Tyndale, Wycliffe, etc. were Protestants. They were under the Roman Catholic Mother Church, right? They were affiliated with it, you know, etc., etc. So they were protesters or Protestants, right? Wanting that reform, wanting that change. Okay, so they were acknowledged for being reformists, you know, trying to make that change, right? But they were still Roman. Martin Luther was still a Roman Catholic, and Tyndale, etc., Wycliffe, they were Protestants under that Roman Catholic Church, right, under its boot heel. Okay, so this Brian guy, he shows you in that video, there's two columns, the left and the right, right, and he tells you in the beginning where does it come from. Oh, and someone had said a comment that where did the Bible come from? Did it fall out of the sky? It came from the Roman Catholic Church, right? The Protestants. What was it? Oh, God, was it? Yeah, it came from the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church gave you all the Bible, right? So we looked at that, and we looked online, and we found that these Protestants were of that Roman Catholic Church, because this person said that the American Bible Society were originally Protestants. That was it, right? So we looked it up, and it says in an 1840 report, right, about the American Bible Society. We've done a video on it. It says that they said they were Protestants, but they weren't. They were Roman Catholics. As we stated, they were protesters against they want to reform, you know, the Mother Church, right? So they were still under the Mother Church, but protesters. Do you get it now? Right? Do you get it now, kids? See, this is what you've got to do, your research. Okay? People don't do their research. They go, oh, I know this, I know that. And they've never done any research. Okay? They've just heard it, read it, so they believe it, right? They've never made the effort to totally check it out, go real deep, you know, to the point of fanaticism. That's what old Bruce Lee over here saying in his Jeet Kune Do, right? He had to become fanatical, near fanatical, right? He had to know it better than everybody else. So he did all the studies, all that sort of stuff, right? They say, oh, he's an atheist and all that sort of stuff, according to his JKD and all that sort of stuff. But if you have a look at one of his videos, a picture of him, right? That Shannon Lee shows a picture of him, and he's sitting there reading the book, right? Whatever book he's reading, the Chinese way of Kung Fu or something, or principles or whatever, right? Taoism, whatever, right? But if you have a look at a picture of the library, of his library collection right next to him, there's a book of Islam. So he was looking at Islam. Why else would you have a book on Islam? Is it just there to make the shelf look pretty? No, he probably studied it. But he said, you know, I don't believe in a God, I don't believe in a deity, I believe in the void. It's emptiness, you know, etc., etc. And he was into Taoism, okay, old ancient Chinese philosophy, religion, whatever it's termed as, right? Okay, so yeah, we'll go back to this comic because we've gone off it again. Okay, so it's translated by a native-born Aramaic speaker, etc., etc. We at the Ministry of the Real Truth found a way to resurrect this downed website, hba.com, so we can bring those translations to anyone truly seeking the real truth about the scriptures and what they really say and mean. There are many so-called claims or claimants claiming that their church duplicates the teachings of the original disciples and apostles, and that they are the original apostolic church. But they, in reality, are not. They're not following the traditions, customs, and liturgy of those original disciples who gave to the original church of Allah or God those original manuscripts, what they had seen and heard in the miracles that Christ did while they were among him, while they were around him, right, as followers or disciples or followers, right? Okay, so they're false, they're telling lies, right? Okay, they in reality are not following the traditions, customs, and liturgy of those original disciples given to the original church of Allah or God, the Apostolic Orthodox Catholic Church of the East. And they are, okay, they're following it to the T. They've always been like that. Okay, they've never wavered from it, never had to translate it into any other language. unless they got converts, I suppose, in different countries, but they basically, it was intact, it was never messed with, never translated into other languages. Okay? The Apostolic Orthodox Catholic Church of the East erroneously named Nestorian. We have never deviated from what they were taught by these disciples, nor even had to translate or rewrite their text over and over again. Many make this claim, but are nowhere near it, as the histories themselves prove that the Roman Catholic and Western churches over the many centuries suppressed the original source peoples, and in the history it went through a lot of crap, persecutions for 18 centuries, right? Different peoples. Yeah, in favour of their own doctrines and dogmas. They're pushing that. It's a means of control, right? If they lose that, like they were scared about the Dead Sea Scrolls when they were first translated. So what did they do? They thought, well, it's going to probably tell a different story and ruin us. So they sent along a Roman Catholic translator, whatever, yeah, to check it out. They didn't want it released to the public, again, because they thought it might tell a completely different story, show them up as liars, and they lose all their people, right? Okay. Yeah, so they're all about their own doctrines and dogmas, right? And today want to keep the real truths under the rug. The Assyrian Aramaic, original manuscripts, translated in English, etc., their history, and so forth, right? So we at the Ministry of the Real Truth are continuing the work of the translator, Victor Alexander, and trying to restore, as he has made it his mission, the true apostolic faith through his website and his translations of those original Old Testament manuscript scriptures, and also the New Testament Galilean Aramaic manuscripts, scriptures, etc. Right? Okay? And simply re-educating. Yeah, that's all we're doing, is re-educating. Okay, we're looking at them, their claims, their supposed evidence, all this sort of stuff, listening to their imams, their evangelists, theologians, to see what they're all about, and then going and doing the hard work, the personal research, to finding out, is it the truth or is it a load of phooey? Okay? So we're simply re-educating people to the real truth. We're trying to wake them up to it, that you're being duped, you're being suckered, right? As this Brian with the glasses, the beard video, the American Bible Society and their lies, tells you, right? And in the 1840 report that we've done a video around, that also verifies in the 1840s that at this meeting they admitted that the Roman Catholics had been putting out these bogus versions for centuries, okay? Obviously through these American Bible Societies. So we go and we find the facts. We bring you the facts. We don't bring you, we think, we've got this funny feeling. We go and look for the evidence and bring you the established facts, the proof, the evidence, right? The sources, the links to these experts, people who've done the research. Okay? Yeah. So we're simply re-educating people to the real truth, those who want to have the real truth, but truth seekers, who want to be true Christians, truly with God, know the real scriptures, what does it really say, etc., etc. Okay, without the huff, the fluff, or the hype, complete nonsense and deceit, trickery, forced by any means imaginable, because we personally experience with many of the adherents of the denominations, especially the Christians, they try to pull these tricks. Okay, for example, I got a friend from Israel, he knows all that, he just came back, he's a Jew, whatever, let's go visit him, hop in a car, end up in the church. Or another time, I'll shut you a big feed, at the hamburger place, whatever, hop in the car, so hop in the car, end up at the church. Yeah, trickery like that. You should come and watch this movie, you really like it. He's trying to push me to go back to that church that I was in, but I didn't like it because, there's some questions I wanted answered, and they said, you're going in too deep, or you're saying the infallible word of God, etc., says this, that, right? And then you're celebrating Christmas, the 25th, they're saying that's Jesus' date of birth, right? Or the date he was born, right? When it doesn't clearly say that in the scriptures, in your Americanized Bible version. Don't worry about it, just go with the flow, that sort of crap, right? So it's like, out of there, right? And then I came across this over time. You pray, okay, God, open my eyes, take the scales away through the power of the Holy Spirit to reveal me the real truth. Because a Seventh-day Adventist lecturer, class, teacher, whatever, went to us invited by a girl that I liked at the time, right? She was very beautiful, whatever. But it never happened, right? Cultural differences, whatever. Okay, so yeah, we're just good friends now, right? She probably, hope she still see this video. Well, she's married and got 3 kids anyway, so yeah, leave it alone. Yeah, he says, well, if it's not in the Bible, someone tells you it's in the Bible, you look at the Bible and you find out it's not in the Bible, well then obviously false, aren't they? They're liars, right? You've got to do that research. Yeah? Don't just take it, because someone said, oh yeah, this is the truth. You take it at face value that it is. Because maybe you're associated, you like that person, you like that girl or whatever, right? Yeah, go check it out for yourself. Okay? And then you find, hey man, they told us a load of rubbish. Trying to pull a fast one. Okay. So, yeah, so we're simply re-educating people to the real truth. The real truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Without the hype, fluff, complete nonsense and deceit, trickery, forced by any means imaginable, we have personally experienced with many of the adherents, Christians, the denominations that we've come across. Christian denominations, right? Not so much problem with Islam, yet. No, not much problem with Jewish people, or Jewish Christians, whatever, etc. No problem there. Get the odd one, he thinks he knows what the Bible says because he's going from the King James Shakespeare speak version, right? 1611. He gets all shouty, gets all uppity, says with the devil should throw that original manuscripts in the rubbish bin, all this sort of crap, because it's got like what it originally says compared to their King James version, which obviously you can see like Matthew 27:45, when they've translated what Christ said on the cross, Il lama sabachthani, or shvikthani, whatever, from the Aramaic, Galilean Aramaic. They say, oh, he said, that means he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? But we've done a video, provided the evidence that that's not what he actually said in that language, his language. He said, wherefore have you destined me? My God is correct. Il, or Eloi, or whatever, right? In the Hebrew, that's correct. But this, my God, why have you forsaken me, is incorrect. We have evidence for that. The translators' footnotes state Matthew 27:45 that's a bad transliteration, because the word wherefore doesn't imply forsaken. It implies like why did God abandon him? But he understands it's because why did he abandon him in what he was destined to do, right? What he was sent to earth to do, to be that ultimate sacrifice for the sins of man, right? The remission of sins, cleansing by the blood, all that scriptural stuff, right? So he can bring sinful man back to God through him. That's why he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man can get to the Father, or go to the Father, or come to the Father, but through him. That's what he's talking about, right? Okay, so he was that. Here's a cross, right? Here's a cross, right? There's nothing. There's a gap between God and man, right? Because sin separated them. Sin can't dwell in the presence of God, right? He has no part in sin. So what happens is Christ becomes this bridge that all can go back across through, right? And what is that bridge? That cross that he was crucified on, right? It's all scriptural, isn't it? Okay. So so we say here, know the real truth, and that real truth will set you free, liberate you. That's our editing, to so you understand that verse, okay, which is basically know the truth, and that truth will set you free. It's talking about Christ, right? And his ministry and what he said, etc. Okay. So yeah, for emphasis, we've edited it. We say know the real truth, and that real truth will set you free, will liberate you. Okay, because you're being deceived. The whole world is being deceived from all the told you, sold you. That isn't the real truth. Hype, hocus pocus, mistranslations, bad translations, transliterations, or interpolations, and outright lies. So that one about Jesus dying on a cross, with Christ dying on a cross and saying Il lama sabachthani, being my God, wherefore you have forsaken me, is incorrect. It's a second or third generation Arabic Greek transliteration, and it's incorrect. It doesn't mean my God, it doesn't translate as my God, why have you forsaken me? Because if you look in the Old Testament, it says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, right? So God doesn't forsake people. He might separate himself from you or separate you from him because of sin, but he's always there for you, right? Okay, for you to come back, repent, confess, whatever, right? Come back to him. Okay, so this person, okay, again, we're not angry or resentful or sending out the boys to lop off your knees. We don't have that sort of attitude, right? We appreciate it, this comment. And they said, the ministry of real truth, as you call yourself, is just another of the thousands of examples of how man thinks his way is the right way. Fair enough. Within Christianity, we also see this phenomenon where every one of the thousands of denominations think their way is the right way. Even non-denominational churches believe, or maybe pagan, whatever, the other religions believe this, although it may not be listed on their website under beliefs or creeds, etc. We all think our perception or interpretation is correct, and that is simply human nature. Yeah, it could be true, could be false. Okay, depends on, that's your perspective, isn't it? Okay, so we put a rather long answer to your comment there. We appreciate it. Here again is the thumbs up. Notice we didn't give you a thumbs down, because in Rome you'd be beheaded or thrown to the lions or whatever. Anyway, you're probably not a believer, but hey, we're not going to hold that against you. Yeah, perhaps even an atheist. Well, that's your choice, isn't it? The minister, okay, so we replied, well, I beg to differ. There are thousands of examples of how a man thinks his way is the right way. Okay, we're adding that comment, but I assure you we are the right way. Why? Okay, be prepared for our answer. Blow you out of your socks. Because we have access to the correct, original, ancient, very old manuscripts in the website that we revived. In the original, ancient, very old, sacred, scribal, old tongue or language, it's a long dead one, the Lishana Artika Cypraea, which most people have never heard of the original, ancient, very old Assyrian Aramaic, from a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator from Bet Narain, Mesopotamia, Syria, who found a way to revive a long-dead language, and he translated from those original manuscripts that he bought from the high priest in Bible format. On that video, if you put in the Aramaic scriptures in YouTube search, right, it'll come up Adam and Eva, and that's the older man there, the translator, Victor Ian Alexander, reading from this book. Okay, he's actually reading from this manuscript, these ancient manuscripts, right, because he speaks the language, he's found a way to revive it, etc., etc., right, and he's speaking a funny language, so that's what he's doing, bringing it to you in English, an explanation of Brita in the Aramaic, or the Genesis, right, the origins of creation, the creation account, etc., right, from that ancient Galilean Aramaic. But he does, actually that's correction there. See, when we make a mistake, we admit to it, and we go and try to correct it. Even if we make a mistake, we didn't define the word, we put it underneath the video, right? It'll have NB and then whatever, right? Okay, so he's translated that original ancient Brita of the Lishana Artika Cypraea, or what do you say, something like Cypraea Brita Lishana or something like that, whatever he says. But yeah, Lishana Cypraea, right, into English, the old Ktav Avri. Okay, so that's what he's doing on that video. He's explaining it to you, right? Okay. Yeah, he's got 15 years experience in translating those manuscripts, original manuscripts, scriptures into the nearest English equivalent and the closest to what they actually say, without a translator's bias, prejudice, twist, or adding his own flavour to it. Okay? Because he saw everyone else did that and botched it. We have put in place a policy. Okay? We knew all about this, we realised this, and that's why we put these things into place, because we knew the other denominations, Christians, whatever, would come at us and try to attack us and stomp us into the ground, right, with all these claims. Okay? So we have put in place a policy, because we are a business. There's a difference here. We're not an incorporation or an Inc. like the JWs used to be org.org, JW.org. Maybe they got now JW Inc., which means incorporation. That they're a business and they're making money, right? Okay. So we are, our YouTube account is a brand account, right? But we still got to work out that brand. Maybe do some merchandise, all that sort of stuff, right? To help fund us so we can grow, right? All legitimate reasons, etc., etc. Okay, but nobody's donating so far, so yeah. Do we really need it? It would help to help us grow, to get new residents, etc., etc., all that legal stuff, right? legit stuff. Okay, so we have put in place a policy. Honesty is our best policy, where we strive to bring all the real truth, it's everyone, the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but that truth. Unlike all the others who add hype, fluff, and baloney to their translations, etc. Right? Who creates a policy on their YouTube channel, right, or their registered congregation? Is there anyone out there that said those exact words? Or we've got a policy, and a policy is honesty is our best policy. Okay? No one. Yeah, and we also believe in chivalry. Do you remember that old age premise, that tradition that the old Victorians age, you know, those pompous rich gits, you know, they said we believe in chivalry, that a man's word is his word and he should honour it and be honourable in keeping it, right? Who puts that on their YouTube channel? Okay? None can today, as they make a promise and break it sometime later. They can't stand by these, right? It's a natural human thing to make a promise and then break it, like, yeah. We are not perfect, nor boasting we are. Yeah? So please don't come at us with saying, oh, you got a big ego and you're boasting, you're bragging. We're not. Okay? Because we are prone to making mistakes from time to time. But rest assured, if we do, and someone brings it to us, to our attention nicely, you know, not coming out and you know, the devil, you speak devil and all that kind of crap, right? Yeah. If they bring it nicely to our attention, we will examine it to see the person or party are in fact correct. Then rectify it, or correct it, okay, and acknowledge them for bringing it to our attention. Who does that? Very rarely. You just use the thumb up option you got there in the heart. Okay, we'd go a bit further than that. We do both, right? Okay. Yeah, we acknowledge them, say thank you very much for that, for bringing it to our attention, and nicely, whatever. Okay. Or if we make a video and there's a mistake in it, or we didn't define a word or gave the wrong meaning, as we did just a moment ago, we will seek to correct that mistake or rectify it, correct it, right? Who does that? Who is humble enough to admit, oh mate, I told a load of rubbish, I got it all wrong, sorry about that, bro, here's what I was really meant to say, right? You know, and complete honesty, humbled themselves to say, oh yeah, I messed it up, I totally told a lie, yeah, you're right, great, etc, etc. Right? Who does that today? Hardly anyone. Right? Within Christianity, we also see this phenomenon where every one of the thousands of denominations think their way is the right way. This is what this person's comment says. We've stretched it out, right? Their way is the right way. Even non-denominational churches believe this, although it may not be listed on their websites. Under beliefs or creeds, etc., we all think our perception or interpretation is correct, and that is simply human nature. Yeah, okay, we can live with that. Yeah, so atheists come at us and say, oh, it's your Christianity, your religion, Jesus never existed, it's all rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And you say, well, here's the evidence. They go, oh, no, blah, blah, blah. Our way's the truth. Yours is rubbish. We've got the facts. Science says this, science says that, you know. They don't want you to, you know, they try to suppress you, try to stamp you under, right? They're not giving you that same respect, right? Okay? So they're thinking their perception or interpretation of things is correct, right? Their way or the highway. There is no other way. No matter what you say, okay, ours is the truth, even though it proves false, right? Total rubbish. It's the truth. It's like years ago we read something about a pastor of a church saying to his members, because they're like, you know, confused and etc, whatever. He says, well, at the end of the day, even if it proves to be a lie, scriptures wise, etc, the Bible, etc, if it ends up proving to be a lie, believe it anyway. What kind of insanity is that? You know, but that's the kind of thing that they put across to their church members, right? That's kind of rubbish. So that's what we're looking at as well. And what the hell is that insanity, right? We expose them on it and say, you know, people, that's a load of rubbish. You know, if I believe that it's all good to murder, you know, just because someone looks at it the wrong way and all that sort of stuff, because somebody, like the guy that did that certain book that people read and they go and kill everyone in the area, you know, if I believe that was all true, when it wasn't, and I'm pushing it to people that's all true, you're allowed to do that, or accept your church, whatever excuse you come up with, then yeah, I'm lying, aren't I? Yeah, I'm pushing something false. Hopefully that was a decent example. You don't get confused. Okay, so if I say Harry Potter is true, or that witchcraft and all that sort of stuff, the spells that he does, and you know that it's not, but I keep pushing that it is true because I can do it, right? And I can't. I really can't. I'm a big fat liar, right? But I keep pushing that it's true and saying to you, believe it, it's true, even if it proves to be a lie. Believe it. But I know I'm a liar. I know I'm insane and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, get back to this. Okay. We, in a sense, are a business. Okay, we are a business. Right? This is our business. Okay. Seeking to become a brand, as our channel is a brand account, yet not an incorporation, making boatloads of money. See, that's the difference. If you put incorporation, you're registered as a business because you are making money. Okay, we're not an incorporation because we're not making any money. Okay, so we're just a business in that sense, right? In that sense. Okay. We have done our homework to quell any claims against us from the very day we created our YouTube channel. We just didn't realise it, right? Oh no, that's just like saying if it proves to be a lie, believe it anyway. No, just a joke there. Bit of humour. Okay. We, in a sense, are a business seeking to become a brand, as our channel is a brand account, our YouTube channel, yet not an incorporation, a huge company, Fortune 500, that makes boatloads of money. We have a registered, times 2, maybe 3, minister. Handsome guy over here. So I'm registered online in a sound database, right, with a congregation or church or ministry registering website. Okay. Well, we did this other one. It was like turned out to be silly. They give you a certificate for $6 that you can put on your wall to verify that you're a registered ministry. Thought, well, that was just a $6 money making load of rubbish, right? But this one was more expensive. They teach you, how you should preach, how your ministry should be structured like this and all this sort of stuff, right? Yeah, really, really good. So we are registered times 2. Okay, I am registered times 2 as a minister. I didn't like the idea of pastor, reverend, and all that sort of stuff. So I chose to be called the re-educator. The educator, right? Because it's in the Aramaic. It's talking about a rabbi, the educator, right? Not too sure of that, right? But yeah, I might use that if you have a big time congregation, right? Yeah. So a registered congregation times 2. We had this name, Real Truth Ministries, Real Truth Congregation, the True Church of Maya, Ishor, Mashika, or Jesus the Messiah. That's too damn long. Like, you can't go, I'm from this church, la 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 la. People go, what the hell? That's too damn long, right? So we shortened it, and then we shortened it to the Real Truth Ministries, right? And then we found on YouTube there's the Real Truth Church of God, the Real Truth Ministries, the Real Truth Congregation, the Real Truth this, the Real Truth that, and even the Real Truth about your relationships, church or something. What was it? The Real Truth not ministry. The Real Truth Relationship Advice and Help, right? All this sort of stuff. So I thought, well, there's too many of them. So if you put it on YouTube, it's going to end up going to the Real Truth Romance Help thing, right? So we changed it to the Ministry of the Real Truth. Okay, and we always say, or we usually say in our intro of our videos, we are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we bring all of you, or you all, the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? Okay, so you got that when you go to the court, right? And they say, swear on the Holy Bible. Okay, put your hand on there, and you go, put your other hand up, right hand, whatever. I do solemnly swear, all that sort of stuff, that I will tell the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Then help me, so help me God. But we left out that end part, right? Okay, see how it all fits? Okay. So we've done our homework to quell any claims against us from the very day we created our YouTube channel. We didn't realise it until later on, right? So, hey, yeah, that, wow, Okay. As they were, all these people that were going to come at us were expected to come at us at some point, right? We realised that. Something in us told us that they're going to come at you, because you watch other videos, people getting attacked, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. We were very observant, right? we take note, etc., etc. We learn from their mistakes with their problems. We, as you can see through our videos upon our channel, expose, reveal and provide information on subjects no others have in great depth. We go deeper than the most of them, right? Or all of them, even with their Bible versions, right? These only go and drop hints. Most times these modern versions drop hints, right? These good news, whatever. They drop hints, as in the rapture. Doesn't actually say the word rapture in there, right? So what we do is we go deeper. Look at this Aramaic translators down the website that we revived. Look at his translations, right? And they actually go deeper. And it does say in wherever that rapture scripture is, it actually says the word, there will be a rapture and these people will be raptured. Okay? Because what he's doing is he's translating from the original language and he's coming to the nearest English equivalent, right? We don't know what the word is in the Aramaic for rapture, but that's what he's come out in English. That's the nearest English equivalent, right? In accordance with what those original hidden and preserved Galilean Aramaic scriptures are actually implying. Okay? So there is a rapture. We've done a video on that. Rapture is biblical. Okay. Okay. So what we put here is they think, or these people they're talking about think, yet we, the Ministry of the Real Truth, expose them as incorrect, as an incorrect way, right? Or method, path of the way. Talking about Christ in the way, right? As he did say, he's the way, the life, etc. He's the way. He's the path back to God. We live it, so we know it. We know it because we are living it. Okay? And here's the quote, as best as we can remember it, from self-help motivated Jim Rohn. Those who know it, live it. Those who live it, know it. So you've got to be living it to know it. Okay? And then we put their comment down here. Even non-denominational churches believe that this or that may not be listed on their website under beliefs or creeds. Okay, fair enough. The other religions, this relates to the other religions, right? We put a note here, a reply here. We state via an introductory opening statement on nearly every video. You don't really want to hear 15 minutes of the same thing every time, do you? Right? So sometimes we edit, sometimes we don't. We state, because some people say, oh, get to the point, you're too long, you're not speaking loud enough, all this crap, right? Okay? We're on Linux, and Linux is pretty limited. We've got equipment that's pretty limited, so we need you people to donate so we can get a new premises and get all the fancy equipment like PewDiePie has, Mesh Yourself and all of them, right? And then buy or bribe subscribers, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we're just basic at the moment, right? So sometimes our sound amplifier, whatever goes out, our surround sound, all that, causes us problems. The devil poking it, whatever you believe, right? Yeah, okay. So that's what we that's what we've read, that's what we believe. If you know it, you're living it. If you're living it, you're knowing it, right? Okay, even what's that guy? He crapped on the Negro people, Ray Higgins. He was a pastor for 30 years, and then he went Kemet, and then he dobbed in these black people or something, and they didn't like him anymore. But even that guy says, it's enough. It's okay to have faith and all that sort of stuff and to believe, but you really need to know. Okay, it's better to know than just simply believe. So you got to do your research, etc., and come to that point where you know that Christ existed, that Christ was a sacrificial lamb, that He's real, all that sort of stuff. You know, and no one can waver you, right? Or shake you off your foundations, because you're set in that concrete of knowing, right? Okay, people can go, oh, you're this, you're that, all this sort of crap. They just like, if you're self-confident, like Bruce Lee said, this guy over here, if you've got self-confidence, it's like water on a duck's back. It just you get splashed with it, but it won't really affect you, right? You're so confident, you just shake it off, right? And carry on, right? That sort of attitude. Okay, so as we said, we state via an introductory opening statement on nearly every video on our channel, our policy, creed, etc. to remind people what we are really or truly about, and that we're living it day to day, 24/7, 365. We also have created websites with our policy, chivalry statements on it that we can recall, right? And more, Wix, through Wix, etc., because it's all free. Okay. We did have a domain name and all that sort of stuff, different websites, right? So we can bear the name and say, so we can truly bear the name and say, we are the minister of the real truth, and we bring you all the whole truth and nothing but that truth, or only that truth, without the hype, fluff and baloney others are, right? And are the only ministry online doing that for the people who really deserve to have and know the real truth. They want to know the real truth, what the scriptures actually say, okay? Because they know they're being duped, they're being suckered. It doesn't, what they're being told isn't what is, what they're reading, and they want an explanation. Why does it say this? Why, etc. What's this? Okay, so we provide them with that truth, right? The real truth, what it actually says from this original ancient manuscripts of the OT and the NT, right? Because we are utterly sick and tired of the baloney sold us as the truth. We're sick and tired of the deceit and the trickery we have experienced. We've personally experienced it, as you mentioned earlier, through the Christian churches and rabbis, preachers, evangelists, theologians, the so-called experts, Christians and imams, cults, small US movements like Hebrew Israelites, etc. Again, we are sick of all the horse poop, not only in religious circles but also in the other fields or genres. We still see them as human beings, as human. At the end of the day, it's just that doctrines and dogmas that are put across, claiming them to be established fact, the truth, evident, all that sort of stuff, when they're not. Even like in your forewords of your Americanized Bible versions, it says this committee got together and they translated from the original Hebrew, Aramaic and Greek. How the heck could they, if those were dead, long dead languages? They must have had to use their formula, like the Aramaic translator Victor Alexander, to revive those old dead languages, because they're old and dead. Nobody speaks them, nobody uses them anymore. So everybody has modern vernaculars, right? We realise this again when talking to James D. Francisco, a comment. Right? We realise that he's got doctorates or two PhDs in the Aramaic and the Hebrew, not the original, right? Because he said Lishana Surah prayer or something other different meaning, right? Which is obviously in Syriac. So we realise, he's a professor, a professional expert in the modern Aramaic or the Syriac, the modern Hebrew, probably the Israeli Hebrew, right? Not the ancient, the original ancient dead Ktav Avri or Ktav Avri, the ancient Aramaic or ancient Hebrew. Okay. So, here's a quote. This is what you can do to be called a true leader: know the truth, love the truth, speak the truth, and repeat the cycle over and over and over again. Right? Over again and again. Okay, we have in our email come across certain Noah's medium psychics here. They're trying to say something and they're saying, okay, what's your date of birth, all that stuff. So we played around with that, right, to see what would come of it. And she says, you created, you're brought into this world to do this certain thing, only you can do it. You have to do it, but something's stopping you, etc., etc. 7 or 8 of them are saying exactly the same thing, right? They're either it's all computer generated or they're associated, right? But they say, oh no, it's not computer generated. Right? We actually can personally write out your future and all that sort of stuff, right? But we know they all want money, right? They got to live, they got to eat, pay their bills, right? Fair enough, but we're aware of that, right? But it just seems weird how they're saying that you were created to do something in the world, only you can do it, it's your purpose, it's your destiny, whatever, you should be out there going to do it. And then the catch as well, if you sign up with us and pay $39.95 every month, we'll reveal your secrets and all that sort of crap, right? So we are wary of those. We just played around with it to see what would happen. But the funny thing was, I went to a local supermarket one day. Well, I went to it to do shopping and get the food, whatever, stock up, whatever. And I met this guy. I'm a Maori from New Zealand, right? Half caste or whatever. And this guy was a Maori, he's an older guy, right? He was sitting there, and he wanted to talk to me. He says, I've got to go do the shopping first, bro. I'll come back, stay there. We're still sitting there, I'll talk to you. So I did, which at first I thought, oh gosh, why did I choose to do this? But yeah, it turned out real good. Good conversation. And he came out, I thought, he came up with this statement, right? And he says, I've been looking for you for 6 years. You are the chosen one. And it's like, I get this guy's playing games. He wants something. He might want $1 or something like that. I'm going to give him some money so he can buy some wine, get some weed, get high, right? So it's like, are you for real, dude? But I was telling him about the Aramaic scriptures. So this is where I realised maybe he's after something, right? Telling him about all these Aramaic scriptures and what I found, whatever, right? So in reality, if I'm that chosen one, then he should be agreeing to what I'm saying, right? But he's trying to put across to me the Americanized modern Bible versions, right? And all that Western Christianity, all that false translations, bad translations, from what most people learn when they go to churches, right? So I was questioning him in my mind like that, and then we just carried on talking, right? And then next time I saw him, I avoided him, because I was just too damn busy, really. I had a daughter at home that was sick, at home here was sick, so I had to get back, right? Yeah, but yeah, that's what he said. You are the chosen one. What's this guy up to? Want some coin or something, But it's just kind of weird how someone says that. Like, I've got an uncle here that's my mother's cousin, right? Just an uncle. So he's a top church leader here in New Zealand, Destiny Church. Uncle Brian Tamaki, right? And he's not liked because he's like very outright, like he speaks his mind or whatever. He says like these things about this group and that group and all that sort of stuff. He wants to be the mayor of Auckland, New Zealand, right? And then he'll probably enforce Sunday church and all this sort of stuff, right? He's after money to get back on Daystar or like TV, those evangelising shows, put a ministry on there on Sundays, all that sort of stuff. He's doing all these different adventures. Apparently he's a billionaire, but the power behind him is actually his wife, Hannah, right? She's the power behind him. Set him straight. A guy did a biography on him and he was like quite upset because he didn't ask him. He just wrote from what he knew or whatever, right? Yeah, because he might have got some coin from it, right? All that sort of stuff. Yeah, so we have a long line in our what we call genealogy, or what we call whakapapa, right, in the Maori language. Sorry about that out there, bros. Got it wrong there. Whakapapa. It's a long line of genealogy, ancestry, whatever. And we have my mother. She has a great aunt or something like that. That was called Mary Riki. She was like a prophetess that predicted that her nephew W.T. Ratana would become the Maori prophet. That's the indigenous people here, right? That he would rise and become the Maori prophet, but he was doing his own thing. He didn't want to be no prophet, but eventually, he was persuaded to, and he started this church called the Ratana Church, right? So we've got a long line of these chiefs in their genealogy, and a few of these people that are supposed to be religious prophets and all that sort of stuff, and then this W.T. Ratana guy and this other guy and this Brian Tamaki, right? So I was thinking, well, yeah, okay, I'm destined to do this sort of thing. It's been passed down through that genealogy, maybe, right? But it might jump a couple of people if, God feels, well, they're not playing the game right. So we'll jump to the next one in the generation. Maybe he'll pick it up and do it, right? Or maybe this other one that we thought, could come through that person, right? Pass that message of God, whatever, Jesus out there to these certain people, right? We've realised, well, he's doing it for money, he's corrupt or whatever, the things you see on the news, what's real, right? So we'll jump to the next guy in the lineage, see what he'll do with it, right? And if he messes up, we'll jump to the next one, right? But the next generation, well, that person's particular person, a family member, close family member, is like atheists, got their own thing, right? All that sort of stuff. Being teenagers or whatever. But yeah, they're being taught what to be aware of in life, what to watch out for. Keep your eyes open. You're going to have these religious come at you and try to throw all this corrupt doctrine at you, dogmas, translations, transliterations, whatever, these scriptures, because they're a denomination, they're a movement, they're a cult, etc., etc. Watch out. These are the keys to watch out for, because this is from our experience, right? We're just making them aware so they don't end up in a cult or being sucked of all their money, all the money's been sucked from their life. Oh, you got to give this money or else, all that sort of crap. Okay? All that hype and fluff. So we've made them aware of that. Okay? But we've given them that choice, even though we testify to them, etc. It's up to you. Okay, you've got a choice. There's no free will, really. You have to follow what God says, His commandments, all that sort of stuff. That's what He's stressing throughout the Bible. But He did give you a choice. He says, Christ says, choose who you will serve today, God or the devil. Right? Make your choice. So you've got that choice. But it comes with a reward, and it comes with a consequence. Right? So if you sow to what you reap, or you reap what you sow, right? So you suffer the consequences, or you enjoy the rewards. But with the Bible it says, if you don't believe in God, you're not under God, etc., etc., you're a sinner, you haven't got His blessings, you're under His curse, and then later on in judgment, whatever, you'll be under His wrath, His anger, right, His fury, because you rejected Him, thumbed your nose at Him, scoffed at Him, made fun of His Son and all that sort of stuff, and believers, the saints, whatever, did whatever you did to them. There's a recompense for all that you do. It's like karma, right? Karma will eventually, catch up with you and take a big chunk out of your bottom, right? It's payback. You do this to that guy, something like that will happen to you. It might not be the same thing. Yeah, that's all philosophical, whatever, right? Even the scriptures, I think Christ or someone said, if you want people to treat you the way you treat them, you want to be nasty to them and beat them up, steal from them, all that sort of stuff. Expect it to happen to you, because how you treat people is going to affect you, isn't it? It's going to come back at you. So yeah, we do believe in a karmic retribution, recompense. Okay, but yeah, there's no free will. There's only choice. You choose. It's given you the right to choose who you're going to follow, Him or the devil. You suffer the consequences, or you get the blessings and the rewards. But a lot of people think they've got a gimme God mentality. God, I want this, I want that, give me that, make me rich, I want this, I want her, I want that, right? Gimme, right? It's what can God give me? It's all about that. It's not, I don't need anything but salvation, God's blessings, God's forgiveness, etc., etc., right? They're all out for the mighty dollar, right? What can I get from God? Okay, so someone else says, peculiar how we cite organised Christianity while targeting Church of God, which certainly has many differences to what the whole world believes to be true. Herbert Armstrong did not begin the church, or what? It's ministry of truth. What? Did not begin the church. Ministry of truth operates with a lie in the right hand. For all the snobbishness of your presentation, I expected more. Sorry, we can't please everyone, right? So this is somebody's claim, right? Okay, how you cite organised Christianity while targeting Church of God. Well, as I said, okay, we look at the Herbert W. Armstrong and his preaching, his videos, his lectures, whatever. We look at the history of Herbert W. Armstrong. We find the established facts, right? We find the evidence that proves evidence, etc., etc. We find out, we try to work out if this guy's the real deal, if he's irrefutable, infallible, or he's a total phony, right? And we did the research ourselves, and we found that this guy Okay, so we replied to them a little bit cheekily, welcome, we have been waiting for you, expecting you, in a sense, right, to get attacked, right? If you think it, it'll happen, right? We are not a lie if the source itself, we're providing it from the source, so then the source would be the liar, right? The translator. Perhaps we are merely ill-informed due to the source of that info in regards to Herbert W. Armstrong and the United Church of God, right? And we state, as we always state, honesty is our best policy, and we strive to honour that motto. Peculiar how you, this is the retort at us, peculiar how you, or the comment, peculiar how you cite organised Christianity while targeting Church of God, which certainly has so many differences to what the whole of the world believes to be Christianity. We just explained that, right? If they're telling a load of phooey, we expose them for it. That's what we're all about, right? But we're not like doing it because we hate them or anything like that. It's just, we're sick of the horse poop being told us and sold us by these different denominations, church leaders, church experts, all this sort of stuff. So we put here, there are no targets, they just happen to be one we came across at that particular time. Okay, so we're not specifically going, we're coming for you, Mormons, and we give them crap all day long, right? Or you JWs, right? We try to understand what they're trying to put across, and then re-educate them on the error, or the errors, you get it? Yeah? So there are no targets, they just happen to be the one we came across at that particular time, United Church of God, right? Because we found that, those claims, and then we found that he was suspected or accused of incest with his daughter. Yeah? There are no specific targets, we examine them all as we come across them. Okay, there's some out there we still haven't come across yet, but we will reveal them, right? As you can see in our videos. We even praise some of them where it's apparent, when others have poo-pooed them on the basis of being the competition or the opposition. Yeah, going to knock them down, right? Defame them, and pray tell what are their differences if they also teach false transliterations as a truth. United Church of God, right? What is true Christianity if it isn't exactly the same as what the original true church, or near exact, the true Church of God, the original Apostolic Orthodox Church of the East, founded by the original disciple Thomas, sticking to all the disciples did, what they taught them, right? Traditionally, customarily, ritually, whatever, right? Yeah, the traditional, customary, liturgical methods passed on to them by them, never vying away from them over the centuries, who have never had to translate their ancient manuscript languages or alter their manuscripts in any way, given them by the blessed hands of those original disciples for over 2,000 years, while getting harassed, banned, called heretics for centuries, not only by the Roman Catholic Church, but also all the Western churches. The whole world form of Christianity are the 96% who rely on the Americanized Bible versions, coming from one source. The churches often cite as the Babylon, the prostitute, the harlot, the false mother, because I don't believe any woman by any man, etc., should be called that, even if she is promiscuous, right? Come on, man. The false mother church, while consciously or unconsciously pledging their love and loyalty to it. Okay, but that's what it supposedly says in your Americanized Bible versions translated into English. But we found that it just says harlot, prostitute, false church, right? Sitting it there. And you can't remember. I think other people say that, right? Debatable. And dressed in the same garb, doing the same rituals, professing the same contradictions, lies, etc., while professing having nothing to do with it. Seventh-day Adventists, etc., etc., the Protestant movement, that still clung to her. Through the American Bible Society for the Truth when it isn't. We have proved that and will continue to do so. We've provided videos on the evidence of all coming from the Roman Catholic Church through the American Bible Society, right? Okay, we've done our research, our personal research, and produced the facts, established facts, the evidence, etc., etc., on the United Church of God. The United Church is just one of the many, scripture-wise, pushing false interpretations, interpolations, etc. Okay, we've provided that evidence there, which we just stated before that. If it has been proven as established fact that they indeed are false, right, and telling a lot of fooey, we don't operate with a lie in the right hand. That in itself is a lie. See, once you lie and you get near caught out, right, or you get caught out, you've got to cover up with another lie, and you've got to cover up that lie with another lie, and you cover that lie with another lie to cover that lie, and it just goes on and on and on like that, right? So we thought, why lie? Why bother? Why can't you be honest? Be humble and be honest. If you're a Christian, speak the truth, tell the truth. You shouldn't have a mouthful of lies, etc., etc. Please try to find the real truth lies in your denominational organised religion, if of one. Search your denomination or your church organisation, your organised religion, to see if the real truth actually lies within it. If you belong to one, you're affiliated to one, right? It's quite hard to do, because they're telling you this is the way it is, even if it proves to be a lie, believe it anyway. Garbage like that, right? They're telling you this is how it is. Who are you to question it? We are the appointed men of God. We know it all. You don't know nothing. You're alert like a babe. You're on milk. Right? We're eating the meat, the hard stuff. We know it all. Sit down, fool. Don't you dare question us. All that sort of stuff. Or else there'll be repercussions, right? So please try to find the real truth lies in your denomination. Try to find the real truth lies in your denomination or organised religion, if you're part of one, right? Because it might be the real truth, but they're lying, right? It's very hard to do. We can justly pick holes in most of them. Justly, it's it's not so much criticising. That's destructive criticising, right? We are all about constructive criticism. Notice the difference of that one. We try to help them, try to re-educate the errors of their ways. We're not going, you are Satan, you speak Satan, you look like Satan, you smell like Satan, all that sort of rubbish, right? And giving them 20,000 quotes we don't know, we can't explain, we can't that sort of thing, quote by rote. United Church of God, we believe in observing the New Testament Passover on the night of the 14th of Abib. It's probably April. This is probably the 14th would be the preparation day. The Sabbath would be on the 15th, according to the biblical scriptures, the originals. When they're wandering around in the desert and they complain to God, the house of Israel, wine, wine, wine. We've got no water, we've got no food. You left us here to die, to starve to death. And He gives them the manna from heaven, etc., etc. And He tells them you can collect it on the 14th, but you can't get it on the 15th because that's a high Sabbath. If you do that, you'll be punished or you'll die, right? The night of the 14th of Abib, the anniversary of the death of our Saviour. Passover takes place at twilight as the 14th of Abib begins. Unleavened bread begins 24 hours later on in the 15th of Abib. Passover is a preparation day. So it's a preparation day before the actual Sabbath. Sounds great, but we have found through personal research, which would determine via your everyday Gregorian calendar, reliance, observance, that all is concluded to be every Saturday of every month according to your particular church, which I'm guessing might be the United Church of God, right? Or other churches, denominations. Say, the Lord's Day is Sunday, so we'll be at church on Sunday, etc., etc. Seventh-day Adventists and the other church denominations fight between each other. No, the true day of worship is the Saturday, the Sabbath, according to the Gregorian calendar. The other churches, denominations say, no, you're wrong, you're full of it. It's the Sunday. Bickering, fight, punch up, whatever, right? Calling each other the devil, when they're all relying on their Roman Catholic Gregorian calendar to determine their Sabbaths. We have looked at a certain website to verify that we're a member of it. We can't recall it exactly, but it ends up being that, word for word, it ends up being exactly, or they're saying that the Sabbath, you got the new moon, right, which is not a Sabbath, it was a day of atonement, like the priests would go up on a hill, slaughter a lamb, and its blood will be sprinkled either on the people or whatever, on behalf of these house of Israel for their sins, right? So it's a day of atonement, and then you had to work 6 days, right, labour, etc., whatever, right? And then you had this preparation day where you did all your work, right? Because it was against the rules to work on the Sabbath, discussing things, picking up things, pulling your cow out of the mud or whatever, right? If it's stuck there, got to leave it till the Sabbath was over, all that silliness, right? So that was considered work. Even plucking the heads of corn in the New Testament, Christ and his disciples did that because they were starving or hungry, right? Or they broke the Sabbath because Pharisees or whatever were following them around, temple priests, to try and catch them out, right? All that sort of stuff. Okay, so originally, according to the original scriptures, whatever, in this certain website, World's Last Chance, they say no, the real Sabbaths are on the you got the preparation day on the 7th, right? And you got the Sabbath on the 8th, and then work 6 days, preparation day on the 14th, and the Sabbath on the 15th, and it carries on like that, and then the rest of the Sabbaths are 22nd and 29th, right? Their months, Hebrew months, Jewish months, consisted of 29 days, right? Each one, right? It's probably about 10 months or something like that, right? So there's an extra day, because on the 29th, if you look into the night sky, you should see the crescent moon. It's an indication that there's a new moon coming, right? A new moon day, the beginning of a new month, okay, etc., etc. But if you don't see that, because it's too dark or whatever, you can't see that crescent moon, you get an extra day, the 30th. So you should see it on that night, right? As an indication that there's a new moon coming up, etc., etc., a new month, right? Yeah, so your Sabbaths are on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. But they got a breakaway that says, no, you are wrong. It's on the 3rd, the 6th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th. Right? So there's dispute between that. They're a breakaway from the original Seventh-day Adventist Church, because Miller said in 1844 or whatever, Jesus was coming back. And they all sat out there looking up in the night sky, and he didn't come back, alright? So they were disappointed. So these guys broke away, no longer Millerites. They're all L&G whites, or whites, or whatever, right? They all clung to her. In your books, the Desire of Ages, and all that sort of stuff. There you go. But yeah, they said the Sabbaths, there was a breach, right? Somebody took it upon themselves, the little horn or whatever, Epiphanes maybe, to when he invaded the Jewish temple, right? Burnt everybody in there, etc., like that, destroyed it, put his Roman banner up there, the eagle, right, etc., and nobody could remove it, all that sort of stuff, the abomination, whatever. He changed those Sabbaths to the Sunday, okay? Maybe Constantine did, because they believed in the venerable day of the sun, S-U-N, right? Sunday, Sol Invictus, or Mithra, because that's what Constantine was. He was a liar. He had a vision and all that, and he's supposed to put this, whatever the name of this sign that he saw in the heavens. And Jesus spoke to him and said, put this on your shields and your clothing, and you will win. By this, through this you will conquer. So he wins this battle on this bridge against a foe, right? He defeats him because he had superior numbers, right? But he says, because of that I can conquer. Then he went around the world, different countries, like his armies trying to establish that Roman state form of Christianity, which he was merging with paganism, Mithra. So go have a look at Simcha Jovovich's video, right, of him and a lady in Italy or Rome or whatever. Yeah, Rome, Italy. He's up on this elevating crane thing, right? And they're looking at this Arch of Triumph, and they say, where's the supposed symbol that he saw in a vision? He's supposed to put it on the crosses. Do you think it would be on the shields and clothing, right? So do you think on this artwork, this architecture depicting it, that it should be on there? Well, we can't see it, it's not there. And then apparently his face was scratched out or chipped out, and he had these other 4 pagan gods on there, right? There was no Christ on there and all that sort of stuff. And they looked into the history, and he considered himself a god. That he was like Apollo, but he was higher than Apollo. That Triumph, the Arch of Triumph, apparently he made this big ass statue, and everyone had to like worship it or whatever. Then on top of this arch or something, there was a horse chariot with him as Apollo, all this sort of crap, right? So he was, and all this sort of stuff. But you could look through the arch, and you could see the statue and all this sort of stuff, and the sun used to shine through it or something like that, right? And hit the people, all this sort of stuff. So go watch that Simcha Jovovich, that's the name, timeline history thing. Yeah, because he's a Dutch Jew or something. So he really goes deep into it, right? Yeah. So it verifies that Constantine was a pagan, right? He was a convert to the Roman state Christianity, former Christianity, but he was mixing paganism, Mithra, the goddess Diana, because apparently he said he had another vision, right, to his fellow Dianists, that she said this and she said that. Right? That's you have to go do your research on that. Don't trust us on that. But go have a look at that Jovovich video. He's pretty onto it. There you go. And also he did a quest for the lost tribes of the Jews, the 10 lost tribes, and he found them. So you got these Hebrew Israelites out there. It's nothing personal. It's just we're just revealing what error you guys have, okay, in your belief system. That the Hebrew Israelites got some error there, right? 12 tribes flag and all that sort of stuff. Latinos, Spanish or Latinos, Africans, whatever, Pacific Islanders down here in New Zealand, they're all part of that 12 tribe of Israel thing. It's all a load of rubbish, because this Jovovich guy went across these different areas, India, China, etc. It shows the Ethiopians actually walking into Israel, right, because they're being verified as the original Jews. Okay, so they're walking in, and he goes to India and he finds this group of people, these Indians, that are doing all these old traditional Jewish things, right? Because he's got a Jew from Israel following him around. He goes, "How the heck did you know that stuff? We never taught you. We never reeled into you. How do you know that? Oh, we've been doing it for thousands of years, right? It's just we do it naturally, right?" And he got all the coverings, clothing, whatever, with the tassels and all that on it. Okay, so he goes, "Well, you know all that stuff. Maybe the Asian lot, they were making matzah, that bread, unleavened bread for the Sabbath or the Passover, whatever." Okay, and this guy was like, "How the heck did you know to do all that? We never dropped a hint, right? We never taught you on camera, right?" And it says, "Oh, we've been doing it for thousands of years. It's customary." He goes, "Well, you must be truly of the Jewish tribes, right?" And all that sort of stuff. But this Jovovich said, "Watch out for these Asian ones because they're militants. They've got an army, they've got guns and everything, right? So everything goes down, they're ready to fight." He says, because they could go back to Israel, get trigger happy, and start some sort of Armageddon there, right? All that sort of stuff. So there was these Ethiopian Jews, there's these Indian Jews, these Asian Jews, and then these Israel Jews. So he found the lost tribes, the 10 lost tribes, etc., etc. So these little cults that are saying, "Oh, the 12 tribes of Israel flag, la 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 la," it's all rubbish. Yeah, if this Jovovich guy's thing, which we believe is actually true, right? He found them. He's saying we are the part of that tribe. We are the original black Jews and all this sort of stuff. No. Okay, this evidence verifies that you're not. You're just some sort of cult. We understand you are trying to find your African or your suppressed history. So we're not totally Haiti of you, right? We're not even Haiti of you. You're still human beings at the end of the day. See how the ministry of the real truth is? Okay, I'm looking at you and I'm telling you, attesting to you that this is all truth. Okay, that we're not lying here, we're not trying to put a fluff over your eyes. If you want to be extra nasty and whatever, we could meet up if you're in my country, New Zealand, and we can go. Okay, we're not an associate of this particular religion or this movement, right? It's just that when I was in it like years ago, okay, we went onto an e-meter because I didn't have breakfast or something, and I was not studying the thing, whatever, their policies or whatever, I was mucking around. And the certain guy, Ray, that used to stay across from us, great guy, he, I think he might be Jewish, he looks like that Liev Schreiber of those movies, I think that's his name, those sort of like president gets attacked movies, all that sort of stuff. He's a great actor. Well, he looks like that guy, but shorter, right? So I think he might be Jewish. he picked up on it, right? And she said, did you have any breakfast today? And I was like, yeah, lying through my teeth, right? So he says, I don't think so, because he's trained, through the policies, how to detect it. So he puts me on this e-meter with this guy, Gary. I used to know his mother, because she was in a boarding and whatever, right? Betty Walk here. Nice lady, hard but lovely lady, right? That worked out. Yeah, that was his son, and he was on it, right? And they're highly trained on this e-meter. He's got this thing like that, right? Like those radio ones, right? And they hold onto these cans and all this stuff, and they ask you these certain questions, and it goes back and forth. And because they're highly trained, they know exactly what to look for and all that sort of stuff. So they try to lie through your teeth, but you can't fool it. Whereas the police lie detector, you can. You can lower your heartbeat, all that sort of stuff. But this one, no matter how much I tried, I couldn't defeat it. So if you want to get technical there and say you're a liar and all this sort of stuff, well, if you're in New Zealand, we can meet up. We can go to this Scientology place. Okay, we know where it is, and jump on. And probably have to pay a fee or whatever. But jump on this e-meter and see which one of us is a liar. I guarantee it won't be us. Okay, we can have the notes of exactly what we're saying, and it'll come up that we are telling the truth. Okay, because that thing you can't fool. But no, we're not associated with them anymore, because we found out that you get free courses. You're on a 5-year contract. If you break it, all those free courses that are like from $50 to $3,000 or whatever, you got to pay it back, right? You're in debt. You're considered an enemy of Scientology, right? Scientology, right? Until you pay it back. I had a debt because this lady got narked on or pimped on by one of the students in the class, because there's a policy you can't do weed, right? So this poor lady who's been there 15 or 20 years got kicked off the staff. She had to pay all that money back. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm standing there listening to this. Oh, she had to leave. She was our tutor, right? Staff member, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, this stupid twat pimped on her, right? Because I was sitting right next to her studying. I thought, what the hell, you just knocked on the tutor, bro. Couldn't shut her mouth because she was a weeder, right? She said, oh, I didn't see anything wrong with it. So one of the policies of L. Ron Hubbard is, if you're on weed, you can't undergo this treatment because you're all over the place in fantasy land, and it's a no-no, right? Go out there and ask a Scientologist if that policy is right, see? And you'll find that we aren't lying, okay? We were in there for a year, we found out she's getting booted, got to pay back all that. Oh, jeez, if she did that course and that course and that course, 10 grand, 5 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, oh my gosh, she's stuffed, whatever. So we thought, well, we get the hell out of this thing. But we did, felt guilty, so, as you do, you start paying off the debt. And this lady that stayed across the road from us, jeez, I forgot her name, nice lady, she says, well, you've paid so much, so we'll drop the rest, and now you have returned to friend of Scientology status, right? Okay, so that was all good. Jeez, I forgot her name. Damn. Anyway, she might see this video one day and go, oh yeah, I remember you. We stayed across the road from you at Ross School there. Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, and she had a husband who was part of the human rights department. Oh, jeez, I can't remember her name. I think his name might have been John. I'm not sure. But they had Ray staying with him. They had like a little son, whatever, across the road from us. Then they moved out. I don't think her name was Lorraine, but it had an L. Yeah, I can't remember. It was about 20 years ago, right? So yeah, if you want to get all technical and accuse us of being liars and you're in New Zealand, let's go to the Scientology Centre, jump on the e-meter and find out who the liar is. We'll go through all of this, right? Our policy, our creed, whatever, and we'll come up racist. They'll say, no, these guys are telling the truth. This guy's telling the truth. Yeah, that's one way to prove it, right? We were going to incorporate it in the congregation thing, because sometimes people are Judases. It was just a method, to find out who's hoodwinking you, especially if they steal something from you, like large sums of money and stuff. Put them on that, right? Just give these fellas a little donation, nothing wrong with that. Just don't be affiliated with them, because you know the history of them, Tom Cruise and all that, and is that Leah Remini coming out, a guy going to the Operating Thetan, which is actually borrowed from an occult, because Ron Hubbard's friend was an occultist, and then Ron Hubbard stole his wife, apparently, or his girlfriend, whatever she was, tried to marry her and all this sort of stuff. And he borrowed that OT, or operating thetan, from that. Okay, so you've got to go up to a certain level. You go up this scale, these steps, right? You got to pay the money, of course, bit by bit by bit by bit, till you get to operating thetan number 6 or 7, right? And this guy said he got to there, and Ron Hubbard himself says, "Oh, come and have a look at the secret teachings." So he went into this room, and he opened his suitcase, and there's all the science fiction crap, what it was, novels and all this, or Xanadu, all this sort of stuff. And this guy goes, "What the hell is that? Bleep 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 bleep. What's this bleep bleep bleep?" Right? And I think he spoke about it on Joe Rogan's show. Joe Rogan Experience. Leah Remini was on there as well. We actually got family members that are called Remini, but we don't know if she's actually related. She won't be our American cousin. But that's basically it. We can take you there, you can put each other on there and see who's the liar at the end of the day. Okay. But if we're going to go, that's Scientology, you're too yellow, if you're in New Zealand, to take us up on that challenge, to come at us, like a bull at a gate. Well, that's your prerogative, isn't it? Okay, so it's probably a long video. And we make note. We have found through personal research, which were determined via your everyday Gregorian calendar reliance observance, you're dependent on, right? You look to that and go, okay, we worship on Sunday, the Sabbath is on Saturday, right? etc., which is all erroneous, it's all wrong. We have found through personal research, which were determined via your everyday Gregorian calendar reliance observance, that all is and concluded to be every Saturday of every month or Sunday according to your particular church, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever, right? Which I'm guessing might be the United Church of God, because they're keeping the Sabbath, all that sort of stuff. Basically a Sabbath keeping denomination, not necessarily Seventh-day Adventist. Okay? I.e. that the 7th day of the week is the Sabbath of the Lord, when Scripture wise it wasn't, it isn't. According to the World's Last Chance, they have a video or some article there saying that the Jews changed it. They admitted to changing it to the Saturday. You've got to do your personal research on that, find out if it's true or not. Okay. The last, i.e. that the 7th day of the week is the Sabbath of the Lord, when Scripture wise it wasn't, isn't, when the established facts are presented. It isn't about blaming the church, or that not a Church of God, but the founders, like Herbert W. Armstrong, if found to be teaching, preaching false scripture, doctrines or dogma, and or their people, adherents, members pushing the verified, established false as the truth. As the many denominations of Christianity would point the finger at the JWs or Mormons or other competition. Okay, because you've got to down the competition or any opposition, right? You've got to put them under your boot, you've got to squish them into the mud. Okay, it's all propagandic. But thanks for the heads up. We will look at that info, and then if found Herbert didn't start the church, we'll remedy it. Apparently these people based it on Herbert. Actually, come to think of it, we think you are right about Herbert not creating it, but others creating it in honour of him. It's evidence online. Perhaps pushing false interpretations, transliterations, etc. But remember, to err is human, to forgive is divine. And what, pray tell, what is so snobbish about the video or us revealing the real truth by exposing them or your church who push the false, right? Or the falsities? Is it because it came to our attention that, like many of the 3 modern organised religions, churches of Christianity, etc., they are full of convicted child molesters, molesting priests, deacons, bishops, etc. The beloved H.W. Armstrong was convicted or accused as one, right? Is it because of that? So you'd come at us with this angry retort. Okay? And another guy says, He's obviously, he might have read it wrong. I understand you teach that the Sabbath is not relevant for today's Christians, but the Apostle Mark has something to say, and then I give all these quotes, right? Okay. Right. According to the Americanized Bible version, and didn't Christ say, "See that no man suppresses you or oppresses you with what seasons, what you got to eat, etc., etc." Things according to the Sabbath, right? Okay. When we have a look at Exodus, the Sabbath originally was for the house of Israel, right? It was solely for them, and it was part of that covenant. And it states that they have to keep that Sabbath, they have to honour that Sabbath for all to the end of time. Right? That's what it says here. So it was directly for the house of Israel, the Israelites. But somewhere along the way, Western Christianity, the denominations, etc., decided to adopt it. They probably read it wrong because they've got the terminology wrong. They're not using the Eastern terminology, they're using a Western terminology. So as the translator, Victor Alexander, stated on his website, it's not so much the translations that are wrong or bad, it's that Western terminology. Okay, these things you've got to do personal research on it so you understand, right? So people will know, and you have to prove that it's established fact, that it's evident by letting the evidence prove itself, etc., etc. Okay, you don't just go by what Herbert W. Armstrong says, okay, or somebody else like that. Okay, you got to go and do that research. You got to spend time researching it, right? Finding the truth, the real truth, the whole truth. Okay. What does it say here? Something about me or us teaching that? No, that is incorrect. So whoever has informed you of this is incorrect about the Sabbath. That you don't honour the Sabbath, because we found this big as King James version over here that actually says you're still binding to the Sabbath. Right? That's what that one says. This is like a one with the dedication letter, not these new King James version, not James version, and all these other new versions, right? Okay. As I've done 2 videos on it, and they reveal that the modern Sabbaths of the Seventh-day Adventists and others like it are incorrect according to the book of Exodus of the original ancient, very old, sacred scribe or old tongue or old language of the Lashana Artika or Cypraea, or Lashana Artika Cypraea, the Ktav Avri, spoken and written by the Old Testament prophets, copied by the scribes and monks around 800 BCE and early Egesta, who compiled all the books into one, the book of books, or the Old Testament. Right? And the Hebrew Jewish Creator's Calendar reveals that the lunar solar cycle of the Brita Cypraea, or Genesis 1 on the 4th Yuma, in the original ancient, very old language, Aramaic Ktav Avri, translated as the immeasurable, unfathomable period, age, era, eon, day with a capital D, because their Hebrew day was completely different. It's kind of weird, not a literal day as in a day of the week. Okay, there also was a modern denomination, a guy from there that actually said the same thing. Okay? He said it's unfathomable. It was an unfathomable period because no one was created. There was no man to write it down. Exactly when did God start? When did he have a break? Right? When did he finish? Right, etc., etc. There's a guy called Sasi that says, the creation was in 4000 BCE or something like that. Well, it's incorrect, because what we found was if those small Egyptian mounds that they made wandering around were like from an earlier period, then his claim of 4000 BCE can't be correct. Right? Okay. And then I think maybe Casey gives the time, he gives the day, the month, the year, the time, as in minutes, seconds, an hour, as if there was a clock, all that sort of stuff, right? He's just guessing it, he's assuming. Okay, so the word Yuma in the original Aramaic, Lashana Artika, or of the Ktav Avri, right, means immeasurable period, unfathomable period, age, era, eon, or age. We've said age, day with a capital D. Okay, we're not going to explain that Hebrew day because we confuse ourselves, right? Okay, not a literal day as in the day of the week. Okay, we've done videos on it, Brita or Genesis 1 to 5, etc. So you can look at that video. And a certain online seventh-day breakaway who state the Jews admit they changed to a Saturday and rely on the modern Gregorian calendar to determine their Sabbaths as every Saturday of every month, as the Seventh-day Movement or Adventists do today. Does the book of Exodus not say on the 14th of Nisan, or Aviv or whatever, April or March the 14th, the preparation day before the actual Sabbath on the 15th? It was a high Sabbath, right? But does not state or making any claim it was a Saturday. Does this specifically say on Friday was the preparation day, on Saturday it was the high Sabbath day? It doesn't say that in Exodus, right? Probably doesn't even say that in the original ancient very old Hebrew language, the Ktav Avri, not this modern Israeli Hebrew. Okay, probably doesn't even say that originally. I can give you links to the 2 videos which I made on the true Sabbath, a verification proof that I didn't say that about the Sabbath. And by the way, quoting me from the Americanized modern Bible versions isn't going to give me the real or whole truth, correct interpretation if they are rewrites, copies of copies of copies of copies of copies of a copy, not from original hidden and preserved manuscripts in the original language Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah spoke, or his disciples spoke and wrote in, if they ever were illiterate, as what's his name, top theologian Bart D. Ehrman says, right? They were illiterate. He's done his personal research on that. So maybe someone later recounted those stories and then wrote them. Okay. Somebody anonymous. Okay, so these weren't from original hidden and preserved manuscripts in the original language Yeshua Mashiach or Jesus the Messiah spoke, or his disciples spoke, and the apostles spoke and wrote in from the original Church of the East, founded by Thomas, etc., founded in the 1st century AD. If all Bible versions all have today, if all Bible versions that all have today are proven through established fact and evidence coming from one root source, all say in the book of Revelation, is the false church, pumped out into the world by the lying American Bible societies and similar. We've done a video on that. It's the Brian video, we've provided it, we can do it again. Okay. I wasn't too sure if that person was actually talking to me. About me. If talking about me, forgive me if you are not, because I could be mistaken. Any verse from any book I can totally refute or prove as an incorrect translation or transliteration against the original Galilean Aramaic scripture in English, even the OT according to the original ancient very old Ktav Avri. Satan has indeed deceived the whole world through the very churches, the Church, the Roman Catholic false church or the Mother Church. That's why we, the Ministry of the Real Truth, NZ, are exposing them all with their very own modern Americanized versions, all have and read from, because it's all there, right? Okay. This person agreed the Roman Catholic Church is indeed a false church. In fact, any that observe and teach Sunday, Christmas and Easter. Okay. And he comes at me again, sorry I made a mistake. Okay, he's looking at some other Christian channel, Living Waters, which is Ray Comfort. He's actually from New Zealand. He went to America and did this banana theory and got real famous, known because of that, etc. And he hooked up with Kirk Cameron from Growing Ties or something, an American TV sitcom thing with Alan Thicke, I think it is. Right. So yeah, that's all cool. You know. And then we found through this huge old 1968 KJV overhead with index concordance history of the books of the Bible, old masters of the Renaissance painters, etc. The statement we are still bound to the Sabbath as Christians, but that can't be if the Jews are for all eternity. The Jews solely are bound to it. They've got to do it for all eternity. The universe of universes, as it was a covenant made to the house of Israel, Hebrews, Jews, Israelites alone, and they were bound to it by it for all centuries by God to come, as written in Exodus. Not the Christian, as none around at that moment, right? Okay, they have adopted it and adapted it into their belief system. They're trying to incorporate that Judaism of old with their Christian beliefs, right? So they're Judaic Christian or Judo-Christian. Okay, they're a mix. It's basically what they are. Okay, there's plenty more there. And a link. We are no longer bound by law because we have grace. What does that mean to you? What law do we follow? You have to learn about the law, then you have to repent of sin and die of your old ways. Then you are baptized and born again, or born from the head, born from above in the Aramaic. This is a completely different term. It's a Western terminology that Christians follow. Okay. You have to have a renewed mindset in the ancient Aramaic. That's what it says here. It's all about having a renewed mindset, being filled with the Holy Spirit, receive the Holy Spirit, and become Christ-like. You're not walking around pretending to be Christ, with sandals and a sheet on. Okay. You have to learn about the Lord, then you have to repent of sin and die of your old ways. Then you are baptized and born again into a life of grace without sin. When you are born again, born from above, the head, having a renewed mindset, you're no longer bound by the law because you desire not to break it and to live a life of righteousness. Okay. Isaiah 66:22. As the new heaven and new earth that God shall create, a future prophecy found detailed in the book of Revelations. That shall stand before me, said Maya, Master God, and it goes on. Right. You can read it for yourself. That's all there. No worries for that mistake, my friend. Yeah, Ray Comfort is from New Zealand and teamed up with Kirk Cameron. I'm aware of his very cunning moves. Watch his videos and you realise that guy uses trickery. He's got a cunning move. Okay, he says, okay, he convicts and converts people through trickery. So this is another reason why we at the Ministry of the Real Truth New Zealand are exposing all charlatans. Because what he does, okay, in a court of law, if they pulled him up on it, he would be tried for entrapment. Because what he does is he says to the people, have you ever sinned? Have you ever stolen? Have you ever slept with a woman? Have you ever had dirty thoughts? And all that sort of stuff. So someone might go, oh yeah, right, you're a dirty rotten sinner. You need to repent and all that sort of stuff. That's what he bases it on, right? Okay. If somebody says, no, never done any of those, right, and they're being honest, and then he says, have you ever lied? And they go, no. He goes, well, he just lied. Because everybody lies. Right? You go, right, you're a dirty rotten sinner. That's how he works. You've got to be aware of these things. People aren't aware of it. They could be done for entrapment. Okay? And there's some links to the Sabbath videos that we have. Right? Okay, and he goes on about Peter. That Paul had some difficult things to understand. What he was saying was difficult for people to understand. Okay, which untaught and unstable people twist to their own destruction. True, it was said by a Messianic Jew translator Andrew Gabriel Roth that Peter had more authority than Paul and had built 14 or more churches more than Paul, etc. And it goes on and on. And someone asked, so you think the Bible is wrong or just these organised groups, these organised religions, right? The three major religions. So I put down here, don't get me wrong, the scriptures are great, useful, etc., etc. But the actual facts point to the Western churches, theologians, etc., having and teaching erroneous pseudo-Christian doctrines, wrong Western terminology, dogmas to fulfill their hidden motives and agendas as a means of control, manipulation, propaganda, etc. So we at the Ministry of the Real Truth and I compare all these Americanized modern versions, copies of a copy, and the possible lies that they all stem from the original ancient, very old Aramaic Hebrew and Greek, when they really don't, with the supposed original, untampered, unaltered manuscripts hidden and preserved for over 2,000 years by the original Church of the East, founded by Thomas. What's his name? But the Ermine on his one of his lectures like scoffed. Yes, they say it's founded by Thomas. Yeah, whatever. Not even, that sort of thing. Okay, because he's pushing the Greek, isn't he? He does say, yeah, Jesus spoke Aramaic and all that sort of stuff. I like that guy. He's pretty humorous. Yeah. I also base some of my personal views on my experiences, because what better lessons can you learn but from your experiences, right? You can relate to them. With the different denominations and certain people I have met, befriended, etc., as people who are very manipulative, use deceitful, cunning tricks, and will con you in any way possible to get you along to their church on a Sunday or a Saturday, but yeah, mainly Sunday ones, even to the point of force, or what would be determined in a court of law here in New Zealand as entrapment. Threaten you with this sort of stuff. Right? Subtle, very subtle, and very deceitful. Okay, and this person agrees with that because they were in Armstrong Church and left. This system is toxic. To know God is something very different. Yeshua said, "The truth shall set you free." Not many go the narrow path. Right? All on the wide road, right? Road to destruction. Okay, and I put in reply, churches in G.W. Armstrong. I'm sure that's what she was talking about. I think I did a video on him and found via Wikipedia he was accused of incest by or with his daughter. But did read or heard video that Wikipedia has false info, lies, etc. Well, they do stress that whatever information put up there should be correct. There's something called a disambiguation, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, they got these different policies in place, but people can put their lies up there. But yeah, well, you got to go study it, right? Check it out. Yes, Yeshua Bashika said, "The truth shall set you free." We edit it to explain it, to emphasize it as know the real truth, and that real truth shall set you free or liberate you, right? Yep, it'll make you wake up and realize that you're being duped, suckered by these false churches, these false cults and movements, right? And we acknowledge you saying, yes, you are very correct. Many do not enter through the narrow gate. Many won't find it, as Christ said, etc. Many are called, but few are chosen. Okay, so this is a very, very lengthy video, an explanation on these comments thrown at us over time, right? Especially the first one, the main one, right, way up here. Okay. So we look you in the eye and we tell you, or the people out there, we are the ministry of the real truth, and we strive to bring you all the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If swearing on the Bible wasn't a no-no, right, and you could do it, right, that's what we would say. What's this thing we just read recently about a vow? It's a statement that you make, and if it's a lie, God zap you, right? Or God punish you, whatever, right? That's what a vow was. That's what it meant. That's why he says, don't take any vows that you can't, because a lot of times you can't keep it. Don't make any promises that you can't keep. But that's basically what the vow was. Take a vow, right? Making a statement to God, declaring to God, this is the truth. If it's not the truth, if it proves to be a lie, God, take me out, zap me, end it. Okay. So if it isn't a blasphemy or satanic or whatever people dream up, right? Okay, that's what we would say. We put a hand on the Bible, right? On these original manuscripts translated in English by a native-born Aramaic translator from Bahrain or Mesopotamia, who has 15 years experience in translating these original hidden, therefore preserved manuscripts, hidden for 2,000 years by the original Apostolic Church of the East. So we would say, okay, we swear on this Bible, we take this vow, this oath, that we, the ministry of the real truth, bring to you all the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but that truth. So if it's a lie, zap us God, right? So how further can you go that, doing that, right? Wonder what people's views will be on that act, right? Okay, we'll be interested in that. So yeah, if you like this video, give us a couple of these, right? Add your comments in the comment section down below. Check that notification bell is set properly, so you don't miss out on any of our real truth videos. Okay, we tell you the real truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. No hype or fluff. Honesty is our best policy. We believe in chivalry, all the other stuff that we've quoted. Okay, Right. And yeah, go share it with your Christian friends, your Jewish friends, Islam friends, etc., etc. Okay, and tell them about us, the ministry of the real truth, who brings you the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, etc., etc.